I want to talk a little bit now, and this one's going to be for you, Rick, in terms of parking. As I said through the earlier presentation, it seems everybody has a different opinion on parking. I hear people say Hamilton's all parking lots. I hear other people say there's no parking in Hamilton. I tend to think the opinions divide at the mountain, but that's my opinion. Nevertheless, parking, ongoing conversation for downtown. I attended a panel recently about, again, multimodal transportation. They were talking about if we have the proper multimodal transportation in place, which we are working actively to get here in the city. We're seeing the Cannon Street bike lanes. We're talking about, we got LRT conversations. We've got the GO station. We've got great trail systems throughout the city, HSR and many other options. But with the current infrastructure and everything like that, how does the downtown secondary plan address parking and its requirements for new developments? I understand those requirements and those guidelines have changed.
Yes, those requirements have changed drastically. They're back in the old days of bylaw 6593. Even though the parking downtown was reduced, we still had to provide loading zones by bylaw, which were giant real estate guzzlers. With 05200, the latest bylaw, that became better. As you mentioned earlier, the number of parking spaces required was 1 space per dwelling unit and 0.3 for any units under 50 square meters, which resulted in a lot of units that were under 50 square meters. And it was a bit of a balancing act. A building owner wanted to maximize his number of units within what he can get on parking, and ironically, it all comes down to parking.
It was dictating development to some degree.
Parking was dictating development, yes. Now with the new secondary plan and zoning bylaw, the numbers have gone down substantially. There are basically dwelling units under 50 square meters for the first 12. There are no parking spaces required. And for 13 plus, it's 1/3, it's 0.3 parking spaces per unit. Units greater than 50 square meters, 1 to 12 units, there are no parking spaces required. 13 to 50 is 0.5 parking spaces per unit, and 51 and over, it's 0.7 parking spaces per unit. For units 3 or more bedrooms, first 12, no parking, and over 13 is 0.3 per unit. And there are also maximum parking spaces, maximum ratios for as well. So I'm not saying that these are the new rules and every building should be built according to those rules. Those are decisions that a building owner, it gives them more flexibility to, rather than being mandating all this parking, it gives them more flexibility to decide if market forces really require him to have more parking. For example, a condominium owner, a condominium developer may want to provide just more parking from a market point of view. But the new regulations provide a lot more flexibility.
Yeah, we've said, and thank you, I've seen this in the past where, there's certain sites that you just probably won't require as much parking. And then there's certain sites, where parking is just going to be required. It might not be attached to some of those might not be as walkable as the neighborhood around the corner or down the street. And therefore, from a marketing standpoint or just from a simple assessment of the site, you might want to choose to go with more parking as opposed to reducing that. But Shannon?
I just wanted to add to Rick's and pull it back to the affordable housing conversation. One of the messages that we received through the public consultation is that sometimes parking is prohibitive to adding that affordable unit, converting a single detached dwelling to a detached dwelling and providing some additional affordable housing in downtown without being in a large apartment style type building. So what we did was looked at the parking requirements for single semis, duplexes, street townhouses, and acknowledge that we're in the urban growth center, LRT, and that we didn't want to have parking as a prohibitive factor, so we've also reduced that parking requirement down to none for those types of residential dwelling units, so that it will allow for some of those conversions to happen without parking being a minor variance and in the end being prohibitive to providing those units.
Yeah, I guess it has a large impact on affordability, because Rick, I think you're saying if the building is less than 12 units, the requirement's actually 0. And I guess in the past, that would have required probably around 12 spots at a minimum, assuming they were a family-sized unit. So right there would have created a past challenge from an affordable standpoint, or from a standpoint of being able to house a family within a building, in that a sizable unit for a family would require parking that might not be possible through that development. So it's covering multiple angles and making sure and sort of impacting and contributing to the inclusionary zoning overall and making sure everyone's taken care of here.